I think I look kind of handsome.
Don't you think I
kind of look
think
handsome?
you look kind of handsome.
And who's our target here?
Married couples.
We're talking to married couples.
Yes, the 3 P's of marriage.
Are y'all married? Do y'all want us to share with y'all a couple things? You do? All right.
You sure?
You sure?
Do you really want to know?
Because if you don't want to know, now's the time to go get your coffee. We all need some help. We'll be back right after this. Listen, welcome back to the channel. I'm Glenn P. Brooks Jr. A little tired this morning. Cherie is the sleigh driver. And
I've been up since 4:30.
Y'all see, that's the problem. Now, and listen, that's why we got to talk about the 3 P's of marriage. This one.
For those of you that are just joining us for the first time, I'm Cherie A. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, speaker, and a relationship coach, and this is
Glenn P. Brooks Jr. Guys, we have been married for 25 years in a row, and the crazy thing is, this ain't our first rodeo. So there are a ton of mistakes that we made in our previous marriages that we're getting a chance to pay forward now and figure out, you know, these lessons learned, what it looks like. And so we're going to share with you guys today 3 P's that we've discovered over the years that if you are trying to grow your marriage, you're going to have to absolutely deploy some of this information.
The 3 P's of marriage are partnership, patience,
You
and
see,
passion.
we're not doing the first P real well. Like, we're supposed to be trading
we
back
both
and
love, you the one said you was tired.
I am.
And so when it comes to partnership in marriage, I think oftentimes when people get married, they come together, but they don't truly develop a partnership. And what a partnership is actually adopting an attitude of teamwork in your relationship, that you're actually doing this thing together, that you work alongside each other. There's a level of mutual respect. There's shared responsibility. So it's not, I guess we're kind of getting away from the traditional gender roles in marriage in a sense, because it's a partnership. So it's not like this is supposed to be your job, this is supposed to be your job. No, we're doing this collectively together.
So when you say partnership, because I can see how people would say, listen, a partnership could be, I'm the breadwinner, you're the homemaker. Together we create something that is a partnership. So are you saying that that's no longer the case, or there has to be more of a buy-in on each level?
I think the difference in what you said is that you telling me that this is what we're going to do.
Oh.
And versus us coming together as a team and saying, in this season, it's going to be more beneficial for me to stay, or for you to stay home and take care of the kids, and me to go out to work, or the other way around, because we come together as a team and come up with a game plan on what's most beneficial for us, what's most beneficial for our family, and we do this thing together.
I know what Cherie means. I'm just challenging the thought process of some of us who come up and we see a certain construct and we think, well, it's got to be that. And I just think about what doesn't work in marriage are fixed mindsets.
Right.
And the reason why is because you have 2 completely different human beings. There have been times in our marriage where our roles have shifted and they've gone back, and then they've shifted again. When we first got married, I was working in the radio industry. I was a corporate executive. I was making a ton of money. And I basically was like, hey, babe, if you don't want to go to work, you don't have to. I got you. Then I went into full-time ministry.
And I went back to work.
And those roles changed because I took a 70% pay cut and it was no longer financially feasible. But that was a decision you and I made together. That's where the partnership came in. So you already knew, when this happens, I'm going to have to readjust how I think. And that was a readjustment.
It's getting rid of that singular mindset once you're married, that the 2 of you come together. This is a collaboration.
Got it.
So you have
Yeah.
to work together on whatever it is. It may not even be roles at home. It may be a decision on whether to purchase a home, purchase a car, whether to make a career change. That is a conversation you want to have with your partner because you're doing this thing together. And so it's being able to support one another, but that starts with your mindset and being able to view your marriage as a partnership. This is not, y'all just come together and although you are two individual people, you're in partnership together. And so there are decisions. Before you make decisions, you're actually discussing them together. You're working through, you're solving problems together.
I think your point is well made, babe, because at the end of the day, fluidity is what you want. You're trying to get to the place where you guys flow in the construct of a thing that you create together, and that therein lies the partnership.
This thought just keeps coming in my mind. So for me, I was a single parent prior to us getting married. And oftentimes women, when you've been a single parent, when you've been independent on your own, it's hard to make that transition to partnership in a marriage because you're used to making things happen.
Yeah.
You're used to
Facts.
figuring out the problems by yourself. That is a benefit.
Yeah.
Of being married is now you have a partner. You don't have to carry that weight on your own anymore, but you have to be willing to relinquish some of that responsibility.
Yeah, and I'm glad
you have
you introduced
to relinquish that control to your partner now so that you guys make decisions together because I've worked with too many people. I've heard too many stories of couples are married, but the woman is still running things without running things past her husband.
So, Sheree, and I'm glad you introduced that because it kind of caters to the culture today. Sheree and I are coaches, and we have been running a group coaching community online for the last 7 years. And we work with married couples, we work with parents. And one of the biggest things, particularly for my single ladies who are parenting and then find themselves getting married later or whatever, that extends even to allowing this brother to lead their home. Right?
Yeah.
That extends that far. And a lot of times for you, it was about sort of shifting your mind to embrace this new normal for you.
Right.
Normally you're used to doing all the discipline and all this, that, and the third. And I remember distinctly when you backed off and was like, let this man lead. And here's the other part. Many times we don't find out what our partner's capabilities are because we don't get out of their way long enough to see what that looks like. And so I think there are a lot of brothers who are highly capable of doing some things at a high level, leading their families, doing all the things. When you got a strong-willed woman,
right,
who has been, and I don't mean that in a negative way.
Right.
She has been used to running things in her home, and if she didn't do it, it didn't get done.
Right.
And that's a mindset, and it's a construct that when you come into a partnership, oftentimes you find yourself challenging, deconstructing that for the greater good of the partnership.
Right, and that actually leads to the second P, which is patience.
Yeah.
You have to have patience. And so even in those scenarios, as a single mother coming into a marriage and being willing to relinquish some of my control, I had to be patient with Glenn as he had to figure his way out in how to lead us.
Right.
Because he had not led us before. And so having patience with your spouse, recognizing they're not perfect.
Yeah.
Neither are you, in case you thought you were. Just want to let you know, you're not perfect either. But being patient and allowing them to make mistakes, allowing them to do things their way.
Yep.
It doesn't have to always be your way.
Facts.
But being patient with that process and getting to know each other and extending grace to one another is key in a marriage.
Yeah, and I think that patience part is something that, again, I always go back to cultural norms, right? Back in the day, that would have been a little bit easier to pull off because of the way the culture was constructed. Today, we live in a really fast-paced culture.
Right.
One of the reasons we moved out of the U.S. was to slow our lives down, right? And move to a culture where things are moving a lot slower. That's hard to do, and I just think that when you can embrace patience as a virtue, it's not something that you have to do, it's something that you get to do. I get to wait on my wife's development because I see her moving toward a place that's going to be better for both of us. So why wouldn't I embrace, no, it's going to take a second, let her figure that out, and back up and let her move. So no, patience is a huge virtue.
Right, and for patience to truly work in your relationship, you guys have got to communicate.
For sure.
And those of you that follow our channel, that follow us, know we're always talking about communication, because communication is essential in every area of your relationship. So patience is not, I'm just going to sit back and watch you flounder in something. No, we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to, tell you, I see that you're trying. I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to share with you what my expectations are. You're going to share with me what yours are. So there's a level of communication that has to go on in order for patience. Isn't, like I said, it's not just sitting on the sidelines and just watching.
No, it's an active, it's an active work. I think about, even scripture talks about waiting on the Lord. Those that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. How is it that you can be waiting and your strength be being renewed at the same time?
Something.
It's because there's an active
Right.
component of the waiting. While you're waiting, you're studying. While you're waiting, you are observing. While you're waiting, you are taking notes. While you're waiting, you're interjecting. While you're waiting, you're trying new things. The thing hasn't really came to fruition. This brother isn't who he's gonna be, but he's on his way, and you're actively being patient with that process actually strengthens that process, because it allows him to keep going. Why you smiling?
It's because when you quoted that scripture, I had this cartoon image in my head of this person waiting. They're waiting on a rock, and they're waiting to get stronger, but they're just sitting there. So they're eating every day. They're doing, they're just sitting. They're not working out. They're not getting stronger. They're just sitting there, and they're slowly actually atrophying. Because they're just sitting there.
Absolutely.
But they're saying, I'm waiting to get stronger. I'm waiting to get stronger.
You said they're sitting on a rock?
Yes.
As opposed to getting up and lifting the rock while they're standing still.
Right.
You're still waiting.
Right.
But you're actively doing something.
Yeah, I don't know why that. It was it was a whole cartoon that just ran through my mind.
We should commit to. Maybe we need a comic book.
I don't know.
I don't know. The third P is passion, guys. And when we're talking about passion, we're talking about the passion that keeps the flame in your relationship alive.
What flame?
That little flicker, that little spark that went off when we first saw each other.
You
it's
was
like,
feeling in your stomach, like, ooh.
Let me ask y'all this. Y'all are in relationship. Put it in the chat. How long have you been married? How long have you been
in a long term in your relationship?
And is the passion increasing or is it decreasing? In other words,
do you still get that feeling when they walk in the room?
Do you still wonder, are you still curious about them? Are you still trying to figure them out? Are you still trying to, or have you decided, you know what, I know this person, it is what it is, and you've put it in the chat. I'm just curious and interact with us. And the reason why, babe, is because I think that there's reasons why when you find yourself in anything stale or anything that's grown cold, that flame has gone out. And I think that what we don't understand is that because this is until death do you part, this is a marathon and not a sprint.
Right.
That flame isn't going to rage bright and hot all the time, but it doesn't have to go completely out either.
Right. So if you've ever started a fire in a fireplace or a campfire, you know that the embers, it starts to go out. Even if a barbecue grill, you have to stoke the fire.
Yep.
You have to manipulate it. You have to do things to it to keep that flame going. The same thing in your relationship. We'll get in relationships, we'll get married, the first 1-2 years, you're on a honeymoon, y'all can't keep your hands off each other. It's this all the time.
Right.
It's this all the time.
They and boo.
Right. Year 5, year 7, year 10, you barely compliment each other.
Y'all hear the energy level dropping? Year 5, year 7, year.
Right. You no longer compliment each other. You're not sending each other the little love notes. You have to continue doing those things. And you always hear people say, you got to keep doing what you did to get her, to keep her, or things you were doing to get him, to keep him. That is true.
Yeah.
As much as that is a little quip and quote that you hear all the time, there's truth in that. If you don't continue to manipulate those feelings, that flame, that passion in your relationship, it will fade over time.
I also want to challenge people that in addition to that, I'm coming to a conclusion after 25 years in a row. What got me here won't necessarily get me there.
Right. Yeah, because I'm not the same person I
Because
was.
I'm not the 20-year-old, the 30-year-old in some cases, however young you were. 25 years ago, we got married in our early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
We also got married on the heels of other marriages.
Right.
So in our 20s, we were married to other people. And so there was a new energy that we had that wasn't what we had before, but then there was a vigor we did not have that we had before.
Right.
Now that we're closer to 60, it's gone to another level. So I want to encourage you not to do the same old, same old. You're going to have to switch it up. And I think that that's part of the thing that keeps us burning bright is because we're consistently experiencing firsts on a regular basis.
Right, and it's funny as you were saying that, I was thinking like, so when I was in my 20s, if you came and brought me a single rose, I would have been like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, he brought me roses. I don't want no rose now.
Yeah.
For me, it's that's not going to do anything for me. I don't like flowers. But knowing and understanding your spouse's love language is a great way to help stoke that flame. If you know what they're thinking, and also recognizing, like Glenn said, people evolve. Like what my love languages were when we first got married are not the same now, because mine were acts of service and quality time.
Quality time.
But now also one of mine is words of affirmation. That was never one of mine.
Never her love language. You could tell Cherie how she did a great job, and her drivenness wouldn't allow her to hear that.
Right.
I'll be really honest. And I think that to your point, and this idea of keeping these flames alive, when that flame begins to dim, you got to recognize who's in the room now.
Right.
And what does it take to get that thing readjusted. And so for you, it is now you need those words of affirmation because of, at this age, there's self-doubt, there's things that, well, can I still do it? Do I still have it? All these different things kind of rush your mind. And I think that, again, that's the case. Y'all, let me say this, and we're going to wrap this up and jump into something next week. These 3 P's are P's that we've discovered. What is a P that you've discovered that you would like to add to this list? Put it in the chat. Just go ahead and be creative and think about that out loud. The reason why we're saying this is because in order for marriage to work, you got to do some work.
Yes.
And I think, unfortunately, I know I learned this the hard way. When you stop doing work, guess what? The thing stops working.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, when you stop doing the maintenance on your car, it will stop working. And I think that marriage does not have to be as hard as we make it. We just have to recognize that this thing takes work, and we have to consistently, whether that is hiring a coach like us, joining in a community, whether that is taking trips more often. We were just entertaining some people here in Panama, and they were recognizing that they just don't do this kind of trip enough. And it was a chill trip. It wasn't one with all the bells. It was, I want to go to a place but how often do you do that? And I just think that that's all needed. At the end of the day, here's what I know to be true. You can't get to any place of significance by yourself. And why is that, babe?
Because we all need some help.
Y'all be good, and we'll catch y'all on the next episode of Behind Closed Doors.
Be sure to subscribe.
Yeah, do that.
Share it out. Ring the bell so you get
notifications.
notifications.
For sure. Do that.
And we will see you guys next week.
We'll see you guys next week.